Hi, this is Taka, International CPA. So today I'd like to continue the explaining formula to business success in Japan. So I already explained some of them, but I just repeatedly would like to explain the 4 points to make a business success in Japan. At first, location. So location is of course important. It might be same as worldwide, but anyway, location. And secondly, cash flow. So nowadays, in Japan, interest rates is relatively low compared with other countries. So we might have some idea to have a kind of borrowings. So I just explain the importance of cash flow, especially at the beginning stage. Then business plan. So business plan is of course important, and I really recommend at this point to have a kind of a business plan for 3 years and 5 years at this stage. That would be very helpful to make a success. And finally, of course, hiring. So employment is very important to have a kind of continuous success in business. Of course, it's same as Japan. It also happens in business success in Japan. Anyway, employment. So today I'd like to explain the 4th key to success. Employment. At first, hiring plan. So in previous time, I just showed we may conform a kind of 3 years, 5 years plannings. At this stage, I also recommend you to have a kind of hiring plan as well as business plan. So, for example, I'd like to hire a regular staff 1 year later, or I'd like to have 5 regular staff 5 years later, or something like that. Because hiring is very difficult in Japan. Of course, there might be a kind of a difficulty to find out the appropriate person, appropriate staff in Japan. It might also happen in the world, but of course it also happens in Japan. And of course, I'd like to say the existence of local regulation. So there are some local regulation, especially for regular staffs. And nowadays, we have a kind of some local regulation for temporary staff either. So I highly recommend you to have a kind of consultation with a hiring plan. So hiring, maybe it depends on the source of the your place, but compared with other country, it may be some kind of strictness to hire someone in Japan. So I really recommend you to have a kind of consultation in setting the hiring plan. That would be very important because employment will be the key of the success in Japan. And second, what kind of staff would you like to hire, employ? Experienced staff or unexperienced? Because it might have some relationships with our kind of hourly wage. So hourly wage is of course based on the staff's experience. That could also happen to Japan. So we also need to figure out what kind of staff we may hire as well as character. And hiring plan is of course important, but I would like to say this importance later again. And third point, media. So, what do you mean media? You may consider. So, media. So, in Japan, so for example, if we consider a kind of temporary stuff, in Japan, so kind of local paper might be helpful. So there are some local paper. Of course, there are local papers everywhere. In Japan, of course, there are also local papers in every district. In Tokyo, it happens. But in the case of temporary stuff, it may be better to use a local paper. But if we want to hire regular staff, it may be very cost effective to use a kind of internet. So nowadays, by using internet, we can hire good staff and experienced staff. Yeah, it happens in Japan too. So we may consider what kind of media we use to hire appropriate staff and appropriate place. That would be important. And finally, affinity. Affinity. That is very, we may find out someone by considering affinity. Oh, I like the person, so I may decide hiring the person. But of course, we should at first figure out what kind of person would be appropriate. Then we may consider affinity. That would be important. But at first, we may choose a person. Oh, I like him. I like her. Oh, he's suitable or something. But originally we should figure out planning. Planning what kind of person would be appropriate. Then finally, I might confusing what kind of person we may hire. So in that case, affinity. Affinity. So finally, so if we may confuse, we may set the person affinity. So the person based on the affinity. And it may depends on, entrepreneurs have some ideas what kind of person we may hire to expand our business. So I'd like to kind of suggest one thing. So in some people, we may have some idea. So we would like to have a kind of partner. So not temporary stuff. So at first stage, so we need to do everything at first. Then we may have, I'd like to have our partner. So I'd like to have a kind of well-experienced regular staff as a first stage, especially. But I'd like to say one suggestion. At the first stage, everything, every borrowing, every contract may be collateralized by you, only you. Aside from you, no one can collateralize such a contract and borrowings. Only you can collateralize everything in your business. So you may consider this point to hire a person. So in first stage, of course, it will be very difficult to find out a good person. So we may consider how difficult to hire a good person. So we may reconsider. So the kind of the entrepreneurships. So we should not, forget this one. So this would be very important. So considering the entrepreneurships, so we may consider the employment. That would be important because at first, entrepreneur only can make decision by yourself. That would be kind of lonely, isolated, but you decide to make a business by yourself. So, if hiring someone, please remember these things. That will be very important. Thank you. So,